Georgia player Jalen Carter is now facing charges of reckless driving and racing. Carter is a projected top pick in next month's NFL draft.
Does taking Jalen Carter pose to our organization?
All teams are going to have to dig in on and decide how much risk does it incur.
Jalen Carter is a lightning rod right now. There's a lot of debate and discussion about whether would you take him, should you take him, is he going to be a problem.
This is the most talented football player in this draft class.
This is going to be Jalen Carter, and he's like a mini Jordan Davis, if you will.
He's just one of those guys that is so disruptive. It's not even about technique. It's the fact that his will to destroy the dude in front of him is scary.
He was supposed to go number one. Every scout, every mock draft, the same name at the top of the board. The most dominant defensive tackle anyone had seen in a decade. And then, in 2 months, he became the most feared name in football for all the wrong reasons. A fatal crash, a jail booking, a pro day so bad, grown men in the building went quiet. Teams peeled him off their boards one by one, and by draft night, he was sitting in the green room watching his name fall. But here's the part nobody saw coming. The red flag that scared 31 teams away just made the guy who took him the smartest gamble in the league. 2 years later, that same prospect was a Super Bowl champion, an All-Pro, a two-time Pro Bowler. And then came the payday no defensive tackle in NFL history had ever seen.
To follow breaking news out of the NFL, where the Eagles are signing defensive tackle Jaylen Carter to a record-setting contract extension. It's coming from our Matt Zenitz. Carter will reportedly get a 4-year deal with $152 million. It'll make him the highest paid defensive tackle in league history.
This is how Jalen Carter went from the biggest risk in the draft to the highest paid player at his position the league has ever had. It starts in Apopka, Florida, the same high school that produced Hall of Famer Warren Sapp. And the coaches there said Carter was different. A 6'4", 300-pound kid who competed in heavyweight weightlifting, lettered in basketball, and played tight end, punter, and defensive tackle all in the same game. 12 sacks his senior year, 64 tackles, a receiving touchdown. By the time he was done, he was a 5-star recruit, the number 18 player in the entire country. Alabama wanted him, Clemson wanted him, but Carter picked Georgia. And that decision was about to change everything. He was joining a machine. Here's the crazy part about his Georgia career. He barely started. Only 2 starts in his first 2 seasons, and he was still one of the best players on the field every single week. Georgia rolled to back-to-back national championships, and Carter was the wrecking ball in the middle of it, double-teamed on nearly every snap and still blowing up the pocket. By his junior year, he was a unanimous All-American. Scouts were calling him a generational interior talent, the kind of player you build a defense around.
Right? Like he could take on double teams and people don't move him. Or he takes on double teams and he holds his ground and he gets his body contorted in some weird way and then he gets off the blocks and makes a tackle. He's amazing in really every area. When he turns and when he runs, I mean, he's scary fast.
The comparison being thrown out was Aaron Donald. But here's what most people didn't see behind the highlights. On tape, Carter was untouchable. Off the tape, a different picture was starting to form. He had a reputation as a bright lights player, a guy who could flip a switch on game day and dominate. But the practice habits were another story. Coaches said he didn't always go hard, that he had an abrasive edge, that he played by his own rules. By the time the draft came around, multiple Georgia coaches quietly declined to vouch for him. ESPN's Todd McShay had already flagged concerns about his makeup and leadership as far back as December. So the talent was undeniable, but a quiet question was building under the surface. Is this guy worth the headache? Number 1 overall was still basically penciled in. And then January 15th happened. Hours after Georgia celebrated its 2nd straight title with a parade through campus, 2 cars left downtown Athens around 2:30 in the morning. Carter was in one of them. The other was driven by recruiting staffer Chandler LaCroix, going over 100 miles an hour. That car left the road and crashed. LaCroix and offensive lineman Devin Willock, just 24 and 20 years old, were killed. Willock was Carter's teammate. Police investigated and said the 2 cars had been racing. Carter first told investigators he was a mile away, then admitted he was right alongside the car when it crashed. Weeks later, he was charged with reckless driving and racing.
University of Georgia player Jalen Carter is now facing charges of reckless driving and racing. Carter is a projected top pick in next month's NFL draft. The brand new arrest warrant stems from a crash that happened in January, just hours after the Bulldogs won the national championship. That crash killed 2 people, including one of Carter's teammates.
He turned himself in, got booked, and was released within 16 minutes. And the timing could not have been worse, because that news broke while he was standing at the NFL Combine, the single biggest job interview of his life. So now the questions weren't just about football. They were about character, judgment, trust. And then came the pro day. This was Carter's chance to answer everyone. 3 head coaches in the building, scouts from all 32 teams watching. He stepped on the scale at 323 pounds, 9 pounds heavier than the combine. He skipped the athletic testing, did only position drills, and he couldn't even finish those. Cramping up, breathing heavy, stopping in the middle of the workout in front of the entire league.
There was one who couldn't afford to have a bad pro day workout, and it was Jalen Carter. I mean, having a bad pro day workout is the equivalent of failing a take-home open book exam. There is no excuse for it. There's no reason for it. He showed up 9 pounds heavier than he was at the scouting combine. He didn't finish positional drills because he was cramping up and breathing heavily, and he didn't run the 40-yard dash. And obviously, that is not dispositive on what kind of an NFL player he's going to be.
Yeah.
But when you have these off-field questions that were on full boil at the scouting combine over the ultimate charges of reckless driving and racing in connection with an incident that resulted in 2 people dying in another car, how are you not as buttoned up as you can be?
The can't-miss prospect had just missed, and now the red flags were stacking up. The crash, the charges, the weight, the conditioning. Teams that had him at number 1 started asking a different question. Is any amount of talent worth this?
On draft night, Carter sits in the green room and waits. Pick 1. Bryce Young, gone. Pick 3, 4, 5. The run on talent keeps going, and Carter's name is not called. The guy every expert had ranked as the best player in the draft is watching team after team pass. And this is where the Eagles make their move. Philadelphia looks at the film and sees the same thing everyone else sees, but they also see a locker room built to handle him. They already had his Georgia teammates, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, so they trade up to pick 9 and take the swing.
With the 9th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, Georgia.
The red flag that terrified 31 teams, the Eagles just turned into the biggest steal in the draft, and Carter made them look like geniuses almost immediately. As a rookie, he finished 2nd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting and made the All-Rookie team. The conditioning questions, the character questions, they started to fade every time he collapsed the pocket.
Guy who's definitely not garbage, Jalen Carter in Philly. We see what this guy can do on the interior D-line. When you watch him play, like, how do you ever block this guy?
Dude, it's fun to watch him play, man. I mean, he is big, he moves extremely well, and he is strong as an ox.
Year 2, he goes to another level. 2nd team All-Pro, a Pro Bowler, and the anchor of a defense that carried Philadelphia all the way to a Super Bowl title. The kid who slid in the draft now had a ring, and by his 3rd season, he was one of the most disruptive interior linemen in the entire league. 25 tackles for loss in his first 3 years, 4th most by any defensive tackle since 2010, behind only Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh, and Geno Atkins. The exact company scouts said he'd keep before it all fell apart. Which brings us to the summer of 2026. The Eagles back up the Brinks truck, 4 years, $152 million, up to $160, $106 million guaranteed, $38 million a year. Jalen Carter is now the highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. 3 years earlier, teams were scared to spend a top 5 pick on him. Now, one team just made him the richest interior defender the league has ever seen. So think about what actually happened here. The red flags were real. The crash was real. The pro day was real. But every team that let fear make the decision watched the Eagles take the swing and win a Super Bowl. Carter made the whole league pay for doubting him. The biggest risk in the draft turned into the biggest payoff in football. And the flag that was supposed to end his career is the reason his story is one you'll never forget.
You could tell he studies. To be a young player and to be, they running over here, they running over there.
And it's a run inside again with Gibbs, and he gets barely anything.
He's just an athletic freak. It's nice to have, a guy like him up front. Getting after the quarterback, when you got pressure like that, sometimes it saves you.